Before you scroll away, listen to this. A barefoot boy from a forgotten Filipino village walked onto America's biggest stage with nothing but a broken past and a trembling voice. What happened next left the judges in tears, silenced the crowd, and made even Simon Cowell cry. This is not just a singing audition. This is a story about survival, faith, and a voice that refused to stay silent. If stories like this move your heart, make sure you subscribe now, because moments like this remind us why dreams still matter. The boy stood alone behind the curtain, his small hands shaking as the sound of the cheering crowd leaked through the thick walls of the theater. His name was Mateo Rivera, a 13-year-old boy from a remote fishing village in the Philippines, a place so small it barely appeared on maps. Back home, mornings began before sunrise, with the smell of saltwater, damp wood, and rice cooking over open fire. Mateo had never seen a stage like this before. The lights, the cameras, the massive audience, it all felt unreal, like stepping into someone else's dream. Mateo's life had never been easy. His father was a fisherman who disappeared during a violent storm when Mateo was only 7. His boat was found shattered near the shore, but his body was never recovered. From that day on, Mateo's mother became both mother and father, selling dried fish in the local market, her hands cracked and bleeding from years of hard labor. Mateo helped however he could, carrying heavy baskets, cleaning boats, and singing quietly to himself while working, unaware that his voice was the one thing that might someday change everything. In his village, Mateo was known as the boy who sang to the sea. When the sun set and the waves softened, his voice would drift across the shore, carrying pain, hope, and longing in a way that made grown men stop and listen. He never had lessons. There was no music school, no piano, no microphone. He learned to sing by listening to an old radio that barely worked, repeating melodies until they lived inside him. Music was his escape, his prayer, and his only comfort when hunger and loss felt unbearable. The opportunity to audition for America's Got Talent came unexpectedly. A volunteer teacher visiting the village heard Mateo sing during a school event and stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. She recorded him on her phone and sent the video to someone she knew. Weeks passed. Mateo thought nothing of it. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. An invitation. An audition. America. The journey itself felt impossible. The village gathered money, selling food, borrowing, sacrificing, believing in a boy who carried all their hopes. Mateo had never been on a plane before. He had never left the country. As the plane lifted into the sky, he pressed his face against the window, whispering a promise to his mother that he would sing not just for himself, but for their entire village. On the day of the audition, Mateo walked onto the AGT stage wearing simple clothes, slightly too big for him, donated by someone who believed he deserved to look his best. The judges smiled politely, not knowing what was about to happen. Simon Cowell leaned forward, curious but guarded, having seen thousands of singers before. When asked why he was there, Mateo's voice trembled as he spoke. He talked about his father, about singing to forget hunger, about dreaming of a life where his mother would never have to cry herself to sleep again. The audience fell quiet. Simon listened closely, his expression unreadable. Then the music began. The first note that left Mateo's mouth did not sound like it came from a child. It carried years of pain, resilience, and raw truth. The theater changed instantly. Conversations stopped. People leaned forward. Judges exchanged looks. His voice cracked at times, not from weakness, but from emotion too heavy to contain. Every lyric felt personal, as if he was telling his life story through melody. Halfway through the song, Mateo closed his eyes, and something shifted. He stopped trying to impress anyone. He sang as if he were back on the shore, singing to the sea, to his father, to the life he lost and the future he hoped for. The audience began to cry. One judge covered her mouth. Another wiped tears away openly. Then the camera caught Simon Cowell. For the first time, the famously tough judge was blinking rapidly, his eyes glassy. As Mateo reached the final note, holding it with every ounce of strength he had, the entire theater rose to its feet in a standing ovation. The applause was thunderous, overwhelming, endless. Mateo stood frozen, unsure what to do. He had never heard applause like that before. Simon stood up slowly. His voice, when he spoke, was softer than anyone expected. He said he had heard many singers, but very few who made him feel something real. He said Mateo's voice carried honesty, pain, and hope, and that was something you could not teach. Then something unexpected happened. Simon paused, took a breath, and wiped a tear from his face. The audience gasped. He admitted that Mateo's story and voice reminded him why music mattered in the first place. The moment went viral within hours. But the story did not end there. Backstage, Mateo broke down, overwhelmed by emotion. He worried he had not done enough. He worried about letting people down. That night, he called his mother, sobbing into the phone as she cried with pride on the other end, surrounded by neighbors listening on speaker. As the competition continued, Mateo faced new challenges. Fame came fast. Critics questioned whether his story was too emotional, whether sympathy played a role. Social media was cruel. Doubt crept in. During rehearsals, Mateo lost his voice temporarily due to stress and exhaustion. Doctors warned him to rest or risk permanent damage. For a moment, it seemed his journey might end before it truly began. In his lowest moment, Mateo remembered singing to the sea, when no one was listening, when it was never about winning. He chose to sing again, not for votes, not for fame, but for truth. When he returned to the stage, his performance was stripped down, simple, and devastatingly honest. The judges felt it. The audience felt it. America felt it. Whether he won the competition or not became irrelevant. Mateo had already won something greater. He gave his mother a new home. His village received support, clean water, and a school. Most importantly, he proved that even the quietest voices can shake the world when they carry truth. Years later, people would still talk about that audition. The boy from the village. The song that made Simon Cowell cry. The moment America listened. And somewhere, back by the shore, the sea still listens when Mateo sings.